A very good evening and a warm welcome. Thank you for watching. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, Nile Room. And tonight we'll be talking about the common scams in Kampala. But just before we start, let me give you the definition we found of what a scam is. A scam is a rip-off or a fraudulent scheme performed by a dishonest or deceitful individual, group or company in an attempt to obtain money or something else of value. Or basically it means to trick or deceive someone to get something desirable. Well, just before we get into a discussion, let's hear from two people who shared their stories with us on how they got scammed.
Obtaining money under false pretense, dollar fraud, ATM card swappers, impersonators inside banks. These are some of the cases of scams that police receives. According to police, 507 cases of fraud were reported in 2017. 230 of these were taken to court and only 80 convictions were made. Have you had an experience with a con artist? Have you been conned of your hard-earned money, your school fees, or even money that didn't belong to you? Well, if you haven't, you might want to listen closely as it can happen to anyone. Here's a sneak peek into some of the scams that you might encounter in Kampala.
Here I am, I've just gotten out of the gate at home, I'm walking, and then this very pretty lady just waves, like I'm walking now on the main road, and the lady waves, like, hi. So I'm like, okay, did she make a mistake? And then I don't wave back, so the car she's in stops. It stops, and then they wait for me to walk until I reach up to them. And then the lady's like, oh, sorry, I think we mistook your face. I thought you were Rachel, someone that I know. I was like, no, I'm not Rachel. So as I'm walking away, she's like, oh, are you headed to Kampala? Because we are also going to town. It was a Noah, so she opens for me behind the back door. So when I entered, there was a gentleman behind. He was reading a newspaper. He was in a suit with an office bag. Everything was legit. And I had seen this setting before. So she was like, hey, yeah, so my name is so-and-so. This is my boss. We're just headed to work. Then she starts a conversation with her boss. The boss is saying, did you do this at the office? Did you, And I'm not really engaged, so I am minding my own business, looking forward to reaching town. Then suddenly the boss says, oh, by the way, we didn't pay the other gentleman something, and they decide to stop somewhere. And the lady says, oh, I hope we are not making you wait. We just have to stop here. My boss has to sort something out. So as we are waiting, a lady was walking on the road. So she calls her from afar, Betty, hi. And then Betty comes, oh my God, long time. How is business? I'm just from Congo this morning. And I'm so exhausted. I'm just going to my sister's place to change so that I go to town and do what? And transact the business. So, I'm just listening to all this, remember, I'm not engaged. So she enters the car and says, yeah, I was in Congo, we trade in flasks and all these things, but we found minerals as well. Apparently minerals are their side gig. So she receives these things and she's like, there were brownish stones. So she receives them, then she's like, oh my God, you know what, I can't tell my boss that Betty did what? Brought these things. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give them to you. Let them look like they came from you. Let it look like they came from you. And you're going to sell, like it's your sister who gave them to you and all along you've had them. So the boss comes back and it's like he's in a hurry. He's saying, you know what, I have to stay here. The gentleman is delaying me. I'll do this. They're speaking Luganda, so everything is quick. My mind, I cannot really discern. Before you go, apparently Lillian's sister deals in these minerals that we really need. Here they are, 600,000 per piece. There were 50 pieces, each was 600,000. The boss is like, what? Oh my God, all along. Wow, this is really nice. Lillian, we should start business. So the boss is like, okay, you know what, it's okay, I'll take them at this price. But right now, I can't go to the bank. I have to finish with this man here. So as we are moving, we pick Betty. She was somewhere waiting. So we picked Betty, then we're like, okay, Betty, you know what, the boss has agreed. But now Betty's like, you know what, I need the money immediately because I didn't pay tax for these things, I have to go and pay tax. You need to at least give me some money to pay tax, then the rest can come later. So this lady in front is like, I don't have money on me. She's like, Lillian, do you have some money on you? Do you have at least money on you? I'm like, no, I don't have money. The lady who had given me a lift told me, you know what, let's put in our phones. And for security, she goes and pays this tax, then afternoon we meet. Also me, I say, okay. I remove my SIM card. She also removes her phone and gives it to Betty. Then they're like, okay, you know what, the phones are not enough. We have our shop in Chengera. Let's drive to Chengera and get the money that we have in our branch there. So they didn't take me to town. We didn't even reach town. They just dropped me halfway to branch off. So they're like, okay, so I wrote their numbers on a piece of paper. Then they said, okay, you have the minerals and keep them as security. Later, like at lunchtime, I'm calling, their phones are not on.
On 6th of February 2018, I traveled to Malaysia on official duty, and I was using my SIM card. But on 12th, I could not access my calls, neither could I make calls. So of course, being in another country, I thought probably the network is having issues. It did not bother me till 13th, where my WhatsApp application was asking me to verify my number. And in actual sense, I could no longer verify my number because it was showing me emergency calls. So immediately it became a concern, because now my phone is showing me a message saying I cannot make calls, I can only make emergency calls. So on 13th, I set off from Malaysia to Uganda. I arrived in Uganda on 14th at around 3 p.m. We were 6 members of parliament, and it happened to 2 members of parliament. So we discussed it along the way as we came. Now, on reaching the airport, we met Mr. Mtabazi, the UCC director, who was also traveling. So we asked him what was wrong with our SIM cards, and he explained to us that in actual sense, they could have swapped our lines. So we drove to the nearest MTN outlet. This was at Victoria Mall, and the customer care person who was there, attendant, told us we had swapped our lines on 12th of February. But on 12th, we were not in the country. So we asked her to restore our SIM cards, and as soon as our SIM cards were restored, we started receiving messages from people telling us that we had been asking for money, and someone was telling me he tried to look for money and failed to get money. So it became a serious concern, but I didn't know how serious it was till I got to Kampala at around 8 and restored my WhatsApp. Now, on restoring my WhatsApp, I found myself on various groups I had not been on previously. For example, I was on a cabinet group. I've never been a cabinet minister. My profile picture was now a profile picture of a minister. This was Minister Chibanzanga. So this is when I realized it was actually happening.
Thank you once again for joining us for the program. Let me introduce my guests for tonight, and I'll start with Dismas Nkunda, who is a security consultant. Dismas, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And then we have Afande Luke Owe-Sigire, who is the Public Relations Officer, Kampala Metropolitan Police. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Also, when you listened to those stories of the different stories of how the gentleman and the lady were scammed, what were you thinking? What are those the most common, or do you know more common scams that I could tomorrow very easily fall prey to?
Actually, I was more interested in the second.
The second
honorable, the MP, whereby cards are swapped, and people start sending money on the numbers of that person that has swapped the cards. Of recent also, it happened to the friends of another minister who later complained to us, and we made some arrests from Mubende, you can imagine. I don't know, maybe it is a loophole in the telecommunication companies.
Is it also a fault on our side that we start getting these messages and we don't confirm, and maybe call and say, look, do you actually need money? Are you okay?
You know, some people, I guess there is a trust you build with time with the people you know, and it's just a message that you can send the person, and you're like.
And in most cases, they will use a person whom you know, a person you have sent money to before. So, for example, if you find you have already sent money to your mom, and the message comes, your mom says, Josephine, I need 50,000 shillings. You will not, you have second thoughts after you have sent the money.
I will call first.
So you are security conscious, but other people will not. And so the essence has also been made much more easy because of mobile money. Mobile money is the easiest means by which people now exchange money. So, and the telecommunication, the framework which regulates the transfer of money from one phone to another is not that strict as compared, say, to a bank, which has signatures, verification, and all those types of things. For sending money, it becomes an easy process, which you do over the phone, and so people can scam that. They can use it very easily. One of the most important scams that we have had over a long period of time has been by the ones by emails, where you are getting an email saying, Josephine, I am stuck in Accra, Ghana. Please send me 7,000. And you get the email. I got an email from, and I had just met him, the late Professor Wamba Diawamba, who was once president of the Democratic Republic of Congo. I met with him in Accra. 2 days later, an email from him.
He needed money from
you? He needed money from me. And I was, Professor, because we had traveled together, he said, Dismas, I urgently need money. I'm stuck in Accra. And I had left him in Accra. I was actually going to the bank to withdraw the $2,000 he wanted.
What happened?
Then I said, let me first find out. Let me call, I see if the professor is called. So I called him, said, no, I don't need any money. But I was ready to give him the money.
When we look at the First Lady's story, so she actually played along. Maybe at some point she tells us that it was all happening too fast, it was in Uganda, and so she probably got confused and just felt like, okay. But then at the same time, she gave in her phone. Are we just very gullible people, or are we also trying to find ways to earn a quick buck?
I wouldn't say we are gullible, because according to what she said, it was a long process. And in that long process, the con artist was building trust.
Yes.
She made sure she built trust with this young woman to an extent that she's able to give the phone. So it is human nature, I believe, but to some extent, a stranger remains a stranger. Someone you've met today, you cannot do that. Someone who can give you, she called them what? Valuable stones?
Yeah, diamonds.
Diamonds. On the first day, seriously, who does that? You're supposed to detect those things.
But you see, there is there's something else that happens. It's the capture of the brain, of the mind of the person. So what, like you rightly say, what they're doing, they're building around your brain so that you say, Josephine, I've accepted Dismas's request and I'm going to do it because I build trust and confidence. So I know the scam of a boy who was robbed $750,000 here in Uganda on a daily basis, and would take the money by himself, because they were telling him that the first day they told him, we are going to do black dollars and we are going to change 200,000. So the first time he gave them 200,000, they brought back 400,000. So he was captured completely. By the time he realized $750,000 were gone. So it's the capture, the confidence they build in you so that you can willingly, like her handing over her phone. How do you hand over a phone to a person you're meeting for the first time?
I mean, like he said, the mind, they made her their friend, part of them.
Yeah, true, but they are so good in convincing. They are so good, the scammers are very good in convincing that the individual becomes more like a vegetable. You are useless, actually, you're not thinking.
Actually, I would really want to thank you for making this a topic of the day, because a lot of Ugandans have fallen victims of such things. Can you believe these things are things that used to happen a long time ago, but we were surprised that they are still happening up to now, whereby you're moving on the street, then someone coming the direction you're coming from drops an envelope.
That still happens?
It still happens. I was surprised. And after dropping it, someone out of the blue picks it. On opening, you see money and start saying, you know, this and this. All those things still happen. I was surprised it still happened. We a few days back, I think on Friday, we arrested people doing that. So we had talked to people about such things, and people had gotten to know that
it's happening.
It's a scam. It's happening, and they no longer fall victims. So if people are not told about these things on a daily basis, I believe a lot of people come from up country, over like a million, I believe, come into Kampala and go, or sometimes come in for their first time. They don't know all these things, And those are the people they are capturing now.
What kind of person is this scammer? Are they the people who have the time to observe, analyze, learn you, follow you,
Yes.
know your patterns?
They have, I wouldn't say they have done psychology, but they can study you.
They profile.
They profile you in a
Profile
minute.
you. In a minute, they can tell that this person is vulnerable on this, and therefore they will
How
target.
do they tell?
Well, you can be asking directions. They can look at you asking for directions.
Or you can, like the lady said, they see you as if you need transport to go somewhere. So quickly they'll be able to say that this person needs transport, we can take her, and by the time they offer you and open the door for you, you are inside, and that's it. The next is the words that they're going to conjure up. Very nice words. You sit with people with a gentleman who is in a suit, and he's always the boss, and then they'll have a discussion. You can see she's just willingly handed over her phone. But greed, there is also the point of greed, of you saying that actually I want to make quick money. That's the same thing that she was hoping for, that the deal is the amount of money that is involved. She said it was 600,000.
600,000.
That is times 15, because the stones were 50.
50? Were they 50?
50, which is
50.
almost about 300 million. So you can imagine, you are imagining 300 million.
There were 50 stones.
So the capture of your brain and your imagination about riches mixed with our poverty in the country.
And clearly her phone was not worth 50, I mean that much money. So
No,
she gave it away. A small price to pay for a bigger chunk of money. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're coming to you from the Kampala Serena Conference Center, Nile Room. We're still talking the common scams that happen in Kampala. And I'm curious, a lot of these people prey on people's sympathies. So they know that they're kind people. If we say this, they're going to react this way. How do I tell what is a genuine need and what is actually a scam? So for example, what happened in the case of the Honorable and people are sending out messages and saying he needs help, send money. How do I tell that this is an honest thing or this is a scam?
So on the side of the friends of the Honorable?
In general, that if somebody approaches you and they're going to scam you, like you said, even the ones coming from up country, how do I tell if an envelope falls there and they tell me pick the envelope? How do I tell that, you know what, distance myself?
It is hard to tell. It is hard to tell, but the only thing I can give as a police officer is follow the right procedures. If someone has given you direction that the bus park, probably like those ones who are coming from up country, is here, follow that. Don't look for shortcuts that, hey, if we pass here, what? That is how it happens to them, and they do something to them. If you're in the bank, especially now, there are those that happen in the bank halls, whereby someone tells you, I'm having this money, the dollar, I'm seeing the dollar is this and this amount, please go and exchange, give me the money you're having. There's a way they talk to them, and you seeing a smart person, and he said the gentleman in suit, most con artists are always smart. You look at a person and you're like, oh, this man cannot be a bad person.
He wouldn't need my money for anything.
He wouldn't need my money. It's just small money, and you're like, oh, let me do it. By the time they give you these things and you're taking them to the counter, you've not checked very well, you've never held a dollar in your hand. It is a counterfeit. So just follow the rules as they are. We have this thing that we want things to be done at a fast rate. We've had these things, the Ponzi scams, the pyramid things. You know, because we want to make a quick buck, and we get ourselves involved in such things, and by the end of the day, we are victims of circumstances. So I would say you cannot know whether this is going to be a scam or not, but just follow the procedures.
Individual brilliance and intelligence and the quickness by which you can start detecting, and you say, why is this person being too nice to me? All of a sudden someone wants comes to you, tells you your name, is giving you details about yourself, and then quickly degenerates into exchanges of money. A person you have never met, seen, I think that's, I have been scammed, and I'm not saying that it has not happened. I mean, I've been scammed. I was shown a house, and I entered the house, it was empty, there was nothing in the house, and I paid 900,000 shillings. The gentleman who showed me the house told me, now, don't come and, since I was working in a monitor, which was the Winton Road down here, said, let's meet at National Theatre and you pay me. And I paid him 900,000. The next day I went to the house. It had human beings, curtains were on, dresses were drying, and I said, they asked me, whose house is this? But I said, yesterday it was empty. I said, no, you are lying. This house has never been empty.
The quickness.
The quickness with which they removed everything so that I could find the house empty and pay. So it's us. But now, like in that one, how can you prove it? So the proof was supposed to be for me to look for the owner of the house, the landlord, and speak to the landlord. But I trusted the agent.
There's really no profiling a con artist because they come in all shapes and sizes. So what, for example, is the police doing about things like this?
Well, the truth is, especially like the bank hold scams, the frauds, whereby someone hacks your account, your lines and starts taking money. We've reached somewhere, but in most cases, the victims are always interested in their money. That is the problem we find. If this suspect gives me back my money, I have no problem with him. And you find these con artists have money. So what they do is to pay them off. And if you don't have any registry of that person committing a crime previously, you cannot charge him because nothing shows that he has ever committed another crime.
Well, it says here you had 507 cases registered in 2017.
That is only at CPS.
Only at
yes.
So this is really just within?
No, that is only at CPS. I brought it up because CPS, it being in the center of the city and all the working communities mostly report at CPS. So those are the cases we have at CPS alone. I've not given, because now at Kampala Metropolitan we have over 16 stations. We have over 16 stations, so they could be more than that. Okay. But those are the statistics I decided to give you only at CPS. And when we take them to court, these cases are, most cases, bailable. The magistrate doesn't find a problem in giving this person bail. And even after giving the person, even before taking them to court, when they reach the police and we've arrested this man, this person, the alleged con artist, the victims, most cases, decide to settle them before we even reach court.
They're not interested in going beyond.
They're not interested in court because some of them, it is shameful. Some of them, the court procedure is very long.
Yeah.
So they decide to sort matters outside the courts of law and away from police. So as long as we've apprehended the victim and
they've gotten their money.
They've gotten their money back, they decide not to come back.
One of the cases, and I don't know if this is a scam, you're going to tell me if it is. One of the things that happens in our offices on a daily is you have this workmate who constantly says, please lend me 200,000, and you know, it goes on, and you, for 2, 3 months, a year, you're asking for your money, it never happens. But then about 2 years later, the person leaves the company and you find all of you together. If you counted how much money he had for the different individuals he works with or she works with, you come up with about 10 million shillings. Is that a scam?
I don't think it's a scam because the person didn't take that money by pretending, but he borrowed the money. You willingly gave the money, borrowed it from you on the assumption that you're going to pay, you're going to get the money back. So that is a defaulting on a negotiation that went wrong.
So it is it's our fault, yes?
In police we have this charge we call obtaining money by false pretense. False pretense being that you've accepted to give a service to that person or an exchange of something. It might not be a service or something else, and you've not done it. So you've taken the person's money and you've not done what you're supposed to do. So that is the charge that is always there. But in that same criteria, it cannot stand because you were not expecting the money back. I doubt whether you were expecting the money back. Maybe if you borrowed.
You see, if you can lend out money, the amount, always think like this, the amount of money that you lend out is money you don't want.
So just know it's gone.
It's
if
gone.
They bring it back, it's chance.
If you lend it out, if you lend it out, I will say like this: if you lend it out, and you have an agreement that I've given you 2 million, you pay to me in this particular time, that case can stand in court, in the civil court. And if he doesn't adhere to what he promised, you can take him to court or her, and court will object him or her to pay the money. Yeah, it can stand.
But the thing is, Afande, is that this one is a contractual. But this one, there's no contract. It's actually an understanding.
Word of mouth.
It's a word of mouth, an
It
understanding between, it's hard to be able to.
Unless you produce the evidence.
So you just let that money go.
Unless there's a CCTV that showed you are handing over the money, if you have that sophistication of having recorded by CCTV that you're handing me money.
If there is evidence that shows maybe a third party, person was present when you were giving the money, can stand as a witness.
There's the people who argue that police is sometimes involved in these scams. So somebody maybe takes your phone or something happens, but as soon as police gets involved, it's cleared quickly. Your phone is back. Everything happens magically when they've known maybe the police not to be as quick in other areas. So are there instances?
Yes, I've heard about such things, but I've heard it by word of mouth, but I've never experienced one. People have come to me telling me, I lost my phone, and when I told the OC of the area, he went, and in a few minutes, the phone appeared again, which is a good thing anyway. But I wouldn't say that...
That's magic of the police.
I wouldn't say that it is police being involved, because there is no circumstance that can prove that. Maybe the officer in the area knows the type of people. You see, in most cases, like I've told you, such people, they are arrested, taken to court, and court finds no hard evidence on them. They are released, they come back to community. So these are the people, the same people we see. They are arrested, taken to court, come back, they go serve 2 weeks, come back. Because it is a minor crime. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, they come back. They're the same people. And I would say the area, I would call it effectiveness. I wouldn't say the officer is probably involved. Because has he charged you any money in recovering your phone?
No, but then there is a question there. How is it because of the fear of the police that something that has been stolen quickly finds its feet and comes running back? Is it because the police officer in that particular area knows the people who carry out those things, and so if it's a phone is stolen, we'll call Josephine Karungi, bring that phone, and you know you have it.
No, do not use my name.
Okay, this
they might start calling me.
Well, there is no part on how I can prove that. And we've not actually looked into it. Because, anyway, if the phone is recovered, I would say that is good for everyone.
But my concern then is that the police knows these people. And even if you say that it's minor crimes and so they're coming out and, you know,
what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, the OC of the area, they have an obligation to know the types of people that have been in probably committed crimes and have been in prisons and back. They have that obligation up to them to keep them on a watch. So if anything happens, they know probably this is the person that has been doing this. Let me see whether he's the one having the phone. And if he tries his contacts, that is also policing.
Are you the one who took the phone? And 5 minutes later,
that is also
it's back.
policing.
Bring that phone that you took.
We call it community policing, working with the community. And if you work with your community well, if your community is policing areas full of thugs, you have to find a proper way of working with them. And if it comes back.
Okay, well, let's take another short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, just before we wrap up, I'd like to take a few questions from our studio audience. And as you grab the microphone to finish your story, she was saying somebody